Welcome to the Tim DeMoss Show podcast. You can hear the program each weekday afternoon from 4 till 5 on AM 560 WFIL and WFIL.com.
AM 560, WFIL, WFIL.com. A couple minutes after 4, and you're listening to the Tim DeMoss Show. Thank you for tuning in. Forecast, calling for sunshine the rest of the day. Eventually down to 64 tonight, but still in the 80s right now. Mix of clouds and sun awaits for tomorrow, and a high again of 89. Tonight, Major League Baseball has its All-Star Game coverage starting at 7:30. Had the privilege of being in radio for a lot of years, and over that time had the blessing of meeting a lot of folks and having a chance to connect with them and have them on whatever radio show I was doing at the time. And one of the folks that I've met and known for a long time is a guy named KJ52. He's a hip-hop artist, and he's going to be our guest coming up in a couple of moments. Joe, I know that you're big on rap, right? I mean, I see you at your desk sometimes dropping some beats on your desk.
Yeah, what I do is whenever I buy a present, I say, no, I'll take care of it myself, and I keep the paper at my desk. I put a nice bow on it. It's really nice.
Yeah, okay. So, well, I meant the music, not the...
Oh, the music.
Not the, like, Christmas or gift wrapping. Yeah, I like that. See?
Sure, I sometimes go out and rap on the weekends.
Do you? When you're not walking Bella. Okay.
When I'm not walking Bella.
Okay, well, so you'll appreciate our guest. Actually, I do know that you've written a lot of scripts, right? And movies. I mean, you've done a lot, right?
I love writing. I think it's the most fun in the world.
Right. So maybe we can talk about that sometime. But
love to.
For today, just the idea that some people are poets and they write poetry. Some people write in their journals.
Yes.
And other people write lyrics to songs. Some of them are fairly simple and straightforward, and others, like hip hop, has a lot, usually twice the lyrics.
That's got to be tough stuff,
right?
To write hip hop, there's a specific kind of writing it is, and I don't see it. I don't hear that.
Yeah. Well, to fit it all in the same space is a challenge, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, KJ52, among other things, one of the cool aspects to him, and why I like him a lot. I like him for a lot of reasons. He's been doing it for a long time. He stays in front of his craft. He doesn't just it hasn't gotten stale for him. He's got a serious side and a fun side and an in-between side, if you will. Yeah. And most of his songs will convey one of those aspects. But also, he does some really creative things. Like he is in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Really?
Yeah, for longest freestyle rap, which is basically a situation where it'd be like, Joe, I'm going to give you, if you're the rapper, I would give you 3 words, and you have to make a rap on the spot. Yeah. It's kind of like, whose line is it anyway?
Right.
So he and 4 other rappers rap for over 10 or 12 hours straight.
Wow.
All through anyway, so we're going to talk to him about that fun part of his life.
You got to be in a special place in your head.
Yeah. Well, so what I wanted to do is to play a little bit of one of his songs. He's had, I think, 11 or 12 albums. The newest one is called What Happened Was.
Each one song?
No.
No, okay.
No, 8 to 12 or whatever, some hidden tracks. A fun one I used to play years ago is called Coke Fried a Cheeseburger. And it was kind of like that takeoff on that song that was on Dr. Demento many years ago, where the guy's going through drive-thru and he wants a large orange drink. If you remember that one, he wants to fry, and the speaker's going like, Finally, the guy drives off and crashes into a wall in frustration because he couldn't be understood by the guy at the fast food thing. Anyway, he has a version of that called Coke Fried a Cheeseburger. Very fun. One of the most requested songs when I worked at WZZD years ago, maybe the most requested song. Anyway, but he has a new one out called What Happened Was, ... There's an audio book and a CD, and the book kind of answers a lot of frequently asked questions and other interesting sides to him, plus the music. So I thought as we start the show off, I would play one of his more serious, but kind of not too serious songs. It's called Thank You. His parents split up when he was young. Okay. And the song alternates. It thanks his dad and then his mom, or mom and then dad, and then it thanks the Lord for, resolving things or helping him through life. So this is a sweet song. It's called Thank You. It's by hip-hop artist KJ52, who will be our guest here in just a few moments. You're listening to the Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com.
Cause lately we don't talk like we used to. See, I was thinking about all the things we've been through. I wanna say right now, I really miss you. You used to tell me when I was a little dude that there's nothing that we couldn't get through. So as I'm older, I wanna take time and thank you and let you know every day I try to pray for you. See, I appreciate everything that you did. You were there for me ever since a little kid. Taught me to be a man and just how to live. And when I needed it, you always had love to give. Tears are running down my face as I'm writing this. Cause you not being here is what I really miss. But the one thing that I just really wish is that you know that I love you, so I'll tell you this. You might blame yourself for you and mom splitting up, but I wanna tell you, don't beat yourself up. That's in the past now, what's done is done. And you'll always be my dad, and I'll always be your son. Sometimes the most important words we don't say enough. Sometimes love hurts, and hurts way too much. Sometimes the act of very worst to the ones we love don't occur, sometimes we just wanna hug. Now mom, I wanna thank you for everything, for all the times you were there to provide my needs. And I thank you for always just loving me. In spite of the trouble sometimes I know I used to be. You showing me just what a mom's supposed to be. And it still means so much to hear you're proud of me. And just to be your son is what I'm proud to be. And so with love I say thanks while the kids sing. Mom, we really didn't talk much, but I'm glad that lately we stay in touch. Can you believe how much your little boy has grown up? Seems like yesterday I was so young. Time passes so fast, you know what? It's words like I love you, I don't say enough. And everything that you've done means so much. So thank you, Mom, and that's love from your oldest son. Now, Lord, I want to thank you for what you've done. You're my father in heaven, and I'm your son. You're the source of where my peace comes from, and you still be my father even if I never had one. I was lost, but you changed the outcome. You put your son on the cross when we just bled and hung. To lay down your life, there's no greater love for someone. And that's exactly what you've done.
AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com. The song's called Thank You from KJ52, a classic from him. We'll chat about his brand new record and hook up with KJ right after this break here on Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com.
It's the Tim DeMoss Show podcast, available at WFIL.com. Thanks for listening.
413, the Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com. Our guest about to join us has done a lot of concerts in Philadelphia over the years, including back in the day on our sister station, News Talk 990 WNTP, which used to be a Christian music and teaching and talk station, WZZD. And every now and again we have a concert and piggyback the Philadelphia Phantoms or the Philadelphia Kicks. KJ came in and did a Kicks concert. He's played the Creation Festival main stage. He has 11 or so out of 12 albums. We bring in the one and only K to the J to the 5 to the 2. Can I say that and sound semi, whatever?
Well, I haven't said that since 2000, but I'll take it. I'm all right with that.
I'm only 19 years behind. That's not too bad for me.
Okay.
Well, it's great to hear your voice again.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think the last time you were on was Christmas when you had the just wonderfulest time of the year CD out, which my family and I wore out driving around town. Thank you for that contribution. What happened? What happened was ... CD and audiobook, and there's the newest from you, and the 3 dots after the was made me laugh at first. It sounded like an excuse was coming. Like, well, what happened was the dog ate my homework.
Yes. Pretty much.
So,
Except I tell the story after that, but yes.
Yeah. So, the three dots imply a story. Actually, many stories follow. So there's the CD and there's the book. Share
Yes.
for a moment the idea for, where it came from, and we can head one direction, maybe the CD first, then the book to follow, or however you think is wiser. We can intertwine them.
Well, I mean, the book actually came first, the idea. The CD was like, it's a good way to kind of do two things at once. I mean, I've been wanting to do a book for a long time. I did a documentary a year plus ago. I didn't want to just retell my same story in a book. It would have probably been, way too long. So I said, well, why not just go all killer, no filler? Why not just take, 23 stories, 20 stories, 50 stories, whatever, and just tell stories, you know what I mean? Very significant stories. And I did it in order chronologically, but I just started jotting a bunch of stories together. I gave it to somebody. I said, which one of these jumps out to you based on the title? And then he would call me, and I would tell him the story over the phone in front of the microphone.
Okay.
Record that audio, transcribe the audio, then re-edit it into like a readable format. That was my way of doing the book.
Okay. KJ52 is our guest. 23 chapters in the book. Were some of the topics simply chosen because they're, asked about a lot? Chapter 1, what does KJ52 stand for? What's your name all about?
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff was just frequently asked questions. Some of it is, I did a few little informal polls with my fans. Some of them, are like career-defining moments, which I've told the story 1,000 times, but, for someone that still wants to know it, I put it in there,
Right.
like Dear Slim or stuff like that. And, there were some stories we left off. I said any story that goes in there has to be one that's positive, and it has to be one that is has a resolution. You know what I mean? The music was just a total side note. Like, it was a kid that grew up listening to me, became a producer, reached out. So why don't we do a whole project together? And, we're just in a very interesting time when it comes to music and media.
Well, yeah. And poetics, is that how you say it? How you're...
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
So this album, What Happened Was, we're chatting with KJ52. If you're just tuning in, longtime hip-hop artist, been doing it for over 20 years, has 6 Dove Awards. But more than that, I know your heart is to serve the Lord wherever he has you. You've worn many hats, and I know over the years you've also even spoken about, and one of the things I respect you a lot about is that you've managed to stay current, not because you had to or whatever, but you're just culturally and social media-wise and faith-wise, when I talk with you, and I've seen you in concert many times, it still feels fresh and not forced. And it's just like your music and what you're doing is an extension of who you are at that point in time as a child of God, right? I mean, so...
Absolutely. Nailed it.
You still feeling that way true for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you stay listening to God and you stay listening to the people, I don't think you ever run out of material. You know what I mean? If you love what you do, then you always want to be continually in the space of learning, growing, getting better. And I don't mean in a cocky way, but I mean, doing music now is relatively easy because it's what I've done for 20 years of my life.
Yeah.
But I also make it a point to keep people around me that are younger, so you never lose that youthful energy.
Yeah.
The best way I can compare it to is just got to keep updating the software, man.
Well,
Push the button.
But in the right spirit of things, because, people could do what they do just because it's what they know, and it might not be what God's calling them to necessarily, but they still force it because that's their own comfort zone, and you can kind of sense that. But I've never really sensed that with you, that even though you've had bumps and bruises along the way, that you're doing it because your heart seems to be in the right place with all of it. So it's
absolutely,
it's a good thing. Yeah. Well, so and you mentioned that even with your name as one of the chapters in this book. Because it's great for you to, and I try to do this too, when people tune in, this might be the very first show they ever listen to. Been on for close to a year, but this might be the very first time they've ever tuned to WFIL. So I think it's always great to remember that fact. And so I just want listeners to know, I've known KJ for, 20, 25 years, and I respect him a lot as a musician, as an artist, and as a person. And so I like to have him on. I guess it's the second or third time since the program's been on that you've been kind enough to take a little time with us. So even if folks aren't in a big rap music fans, that they may know someone who is, so that they can learn about something that's worthy of paying attention to and pass the word along. And that would go for any artist we have on. You might have an author on and you don't really care about the topic, but still be a kind of person who's like, I'm always wanting to learn, because if I can find something good to pass to somebody else. Right. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's how I approach my stuff. I want to always do what I do as if you know nothing. That's your angle. And you never presume that the other person knows what's going on.
Yeah.
That's a good, easier way to work.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I'll tell you, on a side note on that point, we had a pastor for several years who was kind of stepping in for a bit as we were transitioning from one pastor to another. And he said he always tried to remember when he was preaching his sermons to have a piece of the sermon that just assumed that whoever's in the audience knew nothing, never heard the gospel before. And because he says he's been doing it 30 something years, and he says he had done a sermon and I complimented him on that afterwards. He said, I really try to remember that no matter how long I've been preaching. And to his point, there was a friend of mine who actually left our church after a while because he's like, I felt like everybody there was 10 years ahead of me. And I heard some of the references and I kind of knew some of the stories, but sometimes if you feel like you're entering in a mid-level class, like you already have a history, it's like, I didn't have a history. And so I kind of felt out of it. And I didn't really know that till after he left. We're still friends now. We still talk, but that to your point, I think it's a great thing to remember. And anyway, yeah. So tell me, so on that topic, if you're not too tired of explaining, one of the chapters in your book, the very first one, How I Got My Name, there's a lot of humor behind it. I didn't even realize your middle name, believe it or not, after all these years, which I found hilarious.
I don't really lead with the middle name, so.
I know you don't, but so KJ52 is, what you go by. People will often ask KJ52, and you have to explain the KJ52 part, why it's that way.
Yeah.
And also your name. So share whatever you want about that chapter. A snippet of it, perhaps, or.
Well, I mean, it's twofold. The first chapter is like, because I was like, how do I start this book off? And I said, well, I guess the best place to start is birth. And there was just a unique story related to when I was born, my parents wanting to give me a name that wasn't typical, but then also them going, yeah, we'll figure it out later.
Right.
I mean, like trying to take me out with, nameless. And then also, essentially them going with Jonah without any actual biblical reasoning, literally going in that moment. And then also, my dad telling me years later, like, I recorded your first sound. You know what I mean? Like, just a lot of parallels there, a lot of interesting things that, foreshadow a lot what was to come. So I felt like that was the best way to start off. And, look, KJ52 is a weird name. So, like, people always like, what's that stand for? So just I tend to think on multiple levels, metaphorically, literally, figuratively, all that stuff. And so, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, and the Jonah part, as you mentioned, there's a little bit of a teaser on your site and other places too. But the doctor's involved in that. So we can just leave it at that. Perhaps your parents had not settled on something. The doctor gets pulled in to be he was asked for a name he hadn't heard in a long time. So, yeah.
Right.
And there's a prediction in there, so to speak. I also heard you were in Amish country.
Yeah, actually in Pennsylvania. My parents I forget where they were going. It's probably going from Jersey to somewhere else. And yes, an Amish couple stopped, and the Amish couple saw me in the back, and I'm crying, and they said, well, what's his name? I said, oh, his name is Jonah. And they said, oh, well, he's going to be a preacher based on the lung strength.
Little did they know.
Little did they know.
Well,
shout out to Seamus, wherever he is right now.
KJ52 is our guest. Brand new CD called What Happened Was. It's an audiobook as well. Take a quick break. Come back at you with more. Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com.
Have a guest you'd like to hear on the Tim DeMoss Show on AM 560 WFIL? Email Timmy D at WFIL.com.
426, the Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com. By the way, the podcast of this program and all of our Tim DeMoss shows available, WFIL.com. Usually within an hour of the program being over, courtesy of the hardest working producer in Philadelphia radio, Joe Harnett, who manages to have that happen. In fact, speaking of which, he did some research on the name Jonah, because that is the name of our guest, Jonah Sorrentino. The name Jonah, used very sparsely at the turn of the 20th century, bounced on and off the charts between 1880 and 1910, then completely disappeared from circulation for almost 60 years. Jonah finally returned from its long hibernation in 1970, advanced an impressive 600 positions on the charts in 10 short years. During the 80s, the name languished at levels of low to moderate popularity, appearing destined for mediocre usage at best. Suddenly, between 1993 and 1994, the name climbed a whopping 450 spots on the charts in those 2 short years. largely due possibly to the romantic comedy folks may be familiar with, Sleepless in Seattle. The movie featured an adorably precocious kid named Jonah Baldwin, the son of main character Sam. And so there you are. That's perhaps one of the reasons that name made a resurgence. We are chatting, as I mentioned, with a Jonah ourselves right now. Jonah Sorrentino, a.k.a. KJ52. Newest CD is called What Happened Was, ... There's an audiobook with that. The book was actually first. The music we'll talk about here in a moment. But is there a name in rap speak, if you will, for odds and ends? Like
a name for odds and ends?
Yeah, like kibbles and bits or something.
Oh, you mean like a slang word for odds and ends?
Yeah. Like miscellaneous or any kind of leftovers, or you know how
I've heard people refer to that as like treats.
Treats.
But that's usually more in like a positive sense. Like, oh, I've got some extra beats laying around. I got some treats for you. But I don't think I could think of odds and ends.
All right. Well, a treat. I did a little brain dump, a few questions or observations, and one of the treats, if I can call it that, was asking you or bringing up the fact that you have a world, you're a world record holder in the Guinness Book,
yes.
Right? So to the Amish couple's point, predicting you'd be a preacher one day with those golden lungs of yours you were exhibiting as a very young child. So just share about that a little bit. That's also in the book too, right? Part of the story of the Guinness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a whole chapter dedicated to my Guinness World Record holder feat, along with 4 other people. We set the world record for longest team freestyle, and we still hold it to this day. I talk about what the impetus of that was, how we executed it, talk about, basically how never been done. And yeah, it was just very ironic moment. And I have to make mention, I forgot to tell you this, you probably wouldn't even know this, but I just put the book out as an audio book on all the streaming platforms. It should be actually out tomorrow.
Oh.
So it's been scored with music, and then I actually put my original demos. I put one of the freestyles from that Guinness World attempt. I put my first rap ever from 1993. So that's almost like I guess you could call it like an audio drama.
Wow.
So that drops tomorrow.
Okay.
If you're too lazy to buy the book and you don't want to bother with Audible, there you go. You're welcome. It's in your Spotify.
That's good stuff. Well, how long was that rap that you and the others did together?
Well, we were breaking a record of, I think it was 9 hours. So we went 12 hours. It was like 9 hours and it was 10 hours and 2 minutes. We went 12 hours and 2 minutes.
Straight.
Yeah.
And you're the rule is you're allowed, like, do you get 5 minutes off an hour or anything like that? Or is it?
Yeah, they make you do that. You have to take 5 minutes off per hour.
Okay.
So people don't kill themselves in the process.
Yeah.
You can combine the time and take, let's say you went 6 hours, you could go 30 minutes if you combine the time.
Okay.
We would just take 5-minute transitional breaks.
The skill of freestyling, just for folks who are they heard the word freestyle, what does that mean? Typically, you'll be at a concert oftentimes where someone will throw you 3 words about whatever, and you make a rap out of it on the spot.
Yes.
That's the gist
or
of it.
Objects.
Or object. Okay,
That's
right.
the gist. Yeah.
Okay.
It would be similar to improv comedy or, maybe even similar to a guitar player soloing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're making it up in the moment. Yeah.
And for the record, were people throwing things at you throughout the time, or you already have topics?
Well, I mean, look, we knew we had to go 12 hours. We're like, it's going to be a long time. So we kind of took it to another level. Like we said, well, everybody that's on the team, which was 5 people, has to go an hour solo.
Wow.
And then we would do the other 5 hours as a team. So the team hours that we would do, and again, part of this was just so you stayed fresh and stimulated.
Right.
We 1 hour put the game headbands on our heads, and we would have to freestyle guess what was on our heads. You know what I mean?
Right.
1 hour we took words from chat room. 1 hour I feel like we did blindfolded freestyling where you had to guess what was in your hand. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I planned the majority of it with their help. So I purposely went in there going, we've got to have a game plan,
Yeah.
And it I'm not saying it was easy.
No,
Definitely not easy, but it made the day go by quicker, that's for sure.
I'll never play Headbands the same way again. My kids love that game.
Oh, man. I never played it at all. And I was like, this is actually pretty fun. So,
yeah. KJ52 is our guest, the newest CD and the audiobook, What Happened Was, ... And along with Poetics, who was a fan of yours, you're saying? And then...
He was a fan as a kid. Wow. That's what's so crazy. He was in junior high. He had my yearbook album. And then actually at the college I'm at right now, he went to school here for music production, reached out, and did like a song and tried another song and another song. And it's like, shoot, let's do the whole full length. So It's weird. Because the irony about it, too, is that he's now here with me at the camp. So in about a couple hours, I got to teach a class. It's a free time class, but it's basically about rap production and how to write songs, how to make songs, how to work in the moment. And so he's there with me playing beats, and he was on stage with me yesterday. And it is weird to think that someone that was in my audience could now be a peer.
Yeah.
But it's really not. It's actually very common for my story now, like 20 years in. Like the kid who scored the audiobook that comes out, he was a kid.
Wow.
As a fan.
Wow. You've been this for a while, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a new job soon. Well,
and you're mentioning before we hopped on, you're speaking of which, you're in Nashville at Camp Electric. Toby Mac has had that for I don't know how many years. I've heard of it. I've never been.
In a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice. Guest instructor kind of a thing you're doing.
Did you say I have some structure?
No, guest instructor. That's the role you're playing.
Well, so when I came in and did it, started doing it 10, 12 years ago, there was no rap presence at it at all. I mean, it was billed and still is kind of as a rock and roll and worship camp.
Okay.
It's interesting that now, 10 years later, rock and roll is not the dominant genre. And the kids, even though they're here to play instruments, they've all shifted. Like the programming has shifted. What I do has shifted. The way they accept hip-hop has shifted. I mean, last night, again, this is a rock and roll and worship camp. It was me, Aaron Cole, and Social Club. That's who performed.
Wow.
There's no guitars on that stage.
No, not a one.
Yeah, so I was always put on the docket as a free time class. These kids come here to learn their instrument all day. So I occupy this odd space, you know what I'm saying? But it also frees me up to do whatever I want. So, I've taught them freestyling. I've taught them how to harness their creativity. I've played, improv games with them. And then this year is the first year where we were like, you know what? We're going to play beats. You're going to try and come up with raps and take it from there.
Hip-hop artist KJ52 is at Toby Mac's Camp Electric in Nashville, taking a break to talk about his new album and audiobook, What Happened Was. We'll get into that a little bit more in just a moment. Want to play at least one song from it if we can, maybe two. And in the meantime, a quick check on the forecast. 64 is the low ahead of us this evening with some clouds. Tomorrow, mix of clouds and sun, high 89. Major League Baseball All-Star Game tonight as well, 7:30 for the beginning coverage of that. Quick, as we take our break here, if you would like to win a gift card to Dunkin' or Wawa or Rita's, which we give away pretty much every day, courtesy of Briner Chevrolet in Jenkintown, send me a quick text, 610-500-DOVE, 610-500-3683. You just have to text in, and we'll draw a random winner, and make sure to mention what you prefer so we can send the right thing to you. Back in a moment with more. It's Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560, WFIL, WFIL.com.
Live and local. It's the Tim DeMoss Show, weekday afternoons 4 till 5 on AM 560 WFIL and at WFIL.com. Our podcast continues.
438, the Tim DeMoss Show, AM 560, WFIL, WFIL.com. Our guest is KJ52. He's won 6 Dove Awards, sold close to 1 million records, but he's a great guy. He's a godly guy. He knows his stuff. He knows his craft, stays current, stays connected with fans. Very down to earth, over 10 or 12 albums, and done a documentary, podcast regularly. Before the break, and there's a new album and audiobook, What Happened Was. I'm going to play something from that for you coming up here in a minute. But before the break, we were talking about how things have continued to change a lot at Camp Electric, where you are now. And I remember talking to you 6, 7 or more years ago. I was at a Flyers game waiting to take the press elevator, and you were talking even then about the explosion of social media and how much more work it was now becoming to have your material in multiple places. You weren't complaining about it. You were just saying this is the reality. In fact, that fans were posting songs of yours and videos, and you're kind of like, well, I guess that's all right. They're doing some of the work for me, even though, the control, and anybody would want to have that space of this is my video, not what you put up or not what you did.
No,
but kind of really, yeah, it really is. And that's, again, one of the reasons I appreciate you is that, every phone call with you is a little bit different than the previous one. There's a common thread, but your love for the Lord's throughout. But
updating the software, man.
That's it. Well, I know you got more work ahead of you. How about just talk about a couple of the songs on the album, which is, as usual, a mix of serious and fun. On the serious side, you had a song in there called Flex, which at least part of the lyrics reference, I think there was a time in your life where you had a bit of a hit, right? I mean, was it a financial hit, or there was a struggle? You have to get into all the details, but...
Well, that wasn't that long ago, but yes.
Okay. Yeah. But talk about that, because I think that's a lot for people who go through life and maybe don't realize they go through a time where somebody did them wrong, or they got sued by somebody, or things happened.
Yes.
That can alter the course of things quite a bit.
Well, there's a couple songs, honestly, that touch on that. I mean, Depression Nap is literally about that period of time of trying to make it through that and dealing with, depression over it. So, you're right. Look, I mean, I can kind of keep these things bottled up, or I can go and talk about it in a nebulous sort of sense. And sometimes I'm writing for myself, but I find that when I'm writing for myself, I'm actually writing for someone else too that's going through it at the same time. So that's honestly where it came from. Like, that's just the truth of it. And, look, I realize the guy with the mic has a lot of power. So with the power comes responsibility. So I'm not using these moments to, like, wreak vengeance upon my enemies.
Right.
But, there's power in shared experience.
Yeah. So in your case, and that's funny because Depression Nap was the other song on the serious category that I was going to ask you about.
Right.
I've had our family's had some financial troubles and some other challenges too, or even just the challenges of having a daughter with special needs. Sometimes I'll never change out having her, but sometimes it weighs on you. And
absolutely.
Right. So there are days where I'm like, you know what? I can't wait to go to sleep. I'm really tired. At least I can check out for a while and have to fight through that.
Yes.
So you learned, how did you come out of the other side of some of the challenges that you were having, with financially or otherwise, scripture wise or anything else in particular?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the thing I've also realized, like, if you're an entrepreneur in some sense, or you are your own business owner, it's like you have to prepare for the lows. And then when you're in the highs, you have to, like, be wise with that. So if you can ride out the storm, a little bit, you can kind of average that out and come out okay. I mean, also when the things dip financially or mentally or physically or whatever, you use that and you just dig your heels in and keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was that. I mean, it was people around me that, were there when I needed to talk. It was, in the high times, preparing for the rainy day. But part of it was necessary, and with it, you do come out on that a little wiser, a little smarter, a little tougher. And you have something to talk about that you didn't have to talk about before.
That's true.
Well,
and one of the lines in the song says, "'Cause fire either refines or it's going to melt you," and it made me think of
fire will refine or it's going to melt you.
Yeah.
Very true.
Proverbs 24:10 says, "If you falter in times of trouble, how small is your strength?"
How small is your strength?
Right.
Yep.
So it's not a matter of, and to clarify, it's not about, okay, I'm gonna do it, but it's, Lord, help me not to. There's an element to depression, I think, and it's just struggles when you're sad, to not make that your default opera. You can be depressed, you can struggle with those things, but say, Lord, help me get through that, not stay there and just keep making that my norm. So.
Right. And if you look at guys like David, you look at guys like Elisha, you look at, Jesus, obviously, it's always ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? That's just the way life is in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not another thing I want to be careful is that I'm not talking about people that deal with clinical depression where there is a chemical imbalance. And I believe that's a whole different angle. Now, there's certainly a lot of overlap to that.
Yeah.
Between the two things. And I think also we're also living in a society now where there are things that we're doing as a society that's contributing to our depression.
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
it social media, be it, our constant reliance on our phones. But I'm also realizing, too, there are ways to combat depression that cost nothing. They're not drug-related. It can be health-related. It can be exercise-related. It can be just getting out in the sun related.
Yeah.
There is a certain degree of responsibility that you have to take for yourself, too, which is hard when you're depressed, but,
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Well, and Lord willing, that's where we're paying attention to each other also, and
Yes.
lifting other people up around us as we have the opportunity.
Yes.
KJ52, our guest. Let's put the song on. This is more on the serious side. And I mentioned earlier that KJ's music, ranges from serious to very fun and goofy and all that. And we'll get one of those in here too before the program's over. But from What Happened Was, the new audiobook and CD, tackling the struggle to fight through sadness, perhaps, or depression, maybe when life has been hard or blindsided you with a single event, or maybe multiple things happen right in a row and you were just getting up from one and bam, another one happens. And so this song is called Depression Nap. This is and you may not know all the words. It's a brand new song to you, perhaps, but you can look them up on kj52.com. Again, the song's called Depression Nap, and it has the truth of trying to struggle through. Even when you know God's truth, sometimes that just it's flickering, and you need more. So here we go. This is KJ52 from his new CD, What Happened Was.
Now I lay me down, pray my soul to keep. Feeling lost, but I'm found when I go to sleep. Yeah, this depression's taking over somehow. No, it won't last forever, but to overcome now.
Now I lay me down, I pray my soul to keep. But all I do is sleep because I got no peace. I pray I got these angels watching over me. The only time awake is when I go to sleep. Yeah. One more stressing session happen, you gon' throw that talent. Depression stressing on your mental till you felt surrounded. You wrestling with this mess and guessing till it pulls you down. It's like you fall into your tears until you felt you drowning. Counting all your blessings, guessing, but you really doubt it. Heading no direction, mention that your heart is pounding. You lock the door and close that window when you in this house. And feeling all alone at home, but when you in the crowded. The hands of the enemy, steadily gripping you deadly, readily breaking you mentally. Right there's a pointer right there till you're never free. You drifted to heavenly, just wanna find out the remedy. Anyone helping me, please take a minute. If you could set up a prayer for me. And here's that thing that they won't ever tell you. Here's that dream that they won't ever sell you. Friends are friends until they gon' fail you. Cause fire either refines or it's gonna melt you.
Now I lay me down, pray my soul to keep. Feeling lost, but I'm found when I go to sleep. Yeah, this depression's taking over somehow. No, it won't last forever, but to overcome now.
Now I lay me down, I pray my soul to keep. But all I do is sleep because I got no peace. I pray I got these angels watching over me. The only time awake is when I go to sleep. Caught up in that cycle repeating that. Yeah. Wake up, get up, stand up, back to sleep again. Toss and turn it, wake up, then you sleeping in. You need to talk to God, but you don't speak to him. Sucked out in that self-doubt, keep on sneaking in. You crushed up in them secrets, wanna breathe again. You locked down on the weekend, claim don't need no friend. But then you start complaining when you leaving now. Your life is a purpose, even you feeling you're worthless. I know that you're burdened, trust me, I'm certain. Man, I know that you're hurting. Man, I'm just scratching the surface. Yeah, I know I'm coercing. I'm certain there's hope, I'm certain you're cold. Please don't close up the curtain. Cause God is there when you can't even see him. I pray you know him before you go and meet him. And face yourself before you face your demons. Pray you find everything before you go and leave him.
Now I lay me down, pray my soul to keep. Feeling lost, but I'm found when I go to sleep. Yeah, this depression's taking over somehow. No, it won't last forever, but to overcome now.
Now I lay me down, I pray my soul to keep. But all I do is sleep because I got no peace. I pray I got these angels watching over me. The only time awake is when I go to sleep. Fade to black to depression now. Fade to black to depression now. Fade to black to depression now. Depression now.
Now I lay me down, pray my soul to keep. Feeling lost, but I'm found when I go to sleep. Yeah, this depression's taking over somehow. No, it won't last forever, but to overcome now.
AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com. The song's called Depression Nap. It's a challenge. KJ, our guest, KJ52, lost thousands of dollars, frankly, in a situation where someone who was responsible for one of the CDs never paid him. That's a big hit you don't see coming. Someone that you know, you trust, and it's something real. If you've ever lost a lot of money, if you've lost something big, it takes a while to work around it. Psalm 130 verses 1 and 2 talk about it. The psalmist himself said, "Out of the depths I cry to you, Lord. Lord, hear my voice. Let your ears be attentive to my cry for mercy." Coming up on the other side, we're going to wrap up our chat with KJ, and we have a fun song which follows Depression Up, interestingly enough. Is a couple of fun ones on the new record, What Happened Was. We'll wrap up here in just a moment. AM 560 WFIL, WFIL.com.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tim DeMoss Show podcast with AM 560 WFIL and WFIL.com.
451, Tim DeMoss Show. On the fun side of things, there were two songs in particular on your new album, What Happened Was, that made me smile. Have a Good Day was one.
Yeah.
Which is kind of standard KJ observing the world around him, like, come on, man, what's up with that? So,
Well, it's funny because it goes, have a good day, depression nap. Like,
yeah, right.
it's a song order.
Yes. And then give me that chicken follows. So,
Yeah, it could almost be a sentence right there.
yeah. So, I mean, have a good day. Just an observation of I'm going to rise above the people around me who drive me, cut me off in traffic or whatever else it might be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's more of a declarative statement as opposed to, a well-wishing thing. It was like, no, I'm choosing to have a good day in spite of.
Simple but straight. I mean, not necessarily easy to do, but straightforward enough. And you know what? There's probably a lot of power in that. Being able to say, I'm not going to dwell there. I'm not going to let them know.
Yep.
Yeah. And on that, give me that chicken. I mean, that other song that must have been birthed out of a lot of prayer and fasting, I'm guessing.
Well, honestly, I mean, look, I don't really write those type of songs anymore. For a guy that was known for, some offhand dumb song about Mountain Dew and cheeseburgers, those songs have followed me around like a Casper the Friendly Ghost. Just won't go away. He sent me that beat, and I'm like, this beat is so legitimate. I thought, what would I put over here that would be like the complete opposite? Like, what if I'm just rhyme this in a very earnest manner about just ridiculous content? And so I went back and forth. I'm like, am I getting too old to write these songs still? I do like Chick-fil-A, so it wasn't like it wasn't a ploy to get money or something. And I still was like, maybe I moved into more serious territory. I should stay there. It's going to seem weird. And I just put it on social media to my fans. I said, do you think you should go on there? Of course, my fans are like, no, you have to put it on there. So
Good.
I don't necessarily write music for the masses like I used to. As much as I do now, I do it for my tribe, and I think that's just more attainable,
Yeah. Last song on the album, Jim and Pam, celebrating your wife. Is that?
Yeah, and the funny thing is she don't even watch The Office, so I'm like, this is really wasted on her. But, yeah, I just was like, you know what? I remember watching The Office again for like the 3,000th time and being like, man, I just want, I want my relationship to be like that type of relationship. And it is. I mean, we've been married for 21 years, but again, now at this point, I have so much freedom to write, do, say whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
You just can kind of do that,
Well, tell us as we wrap up, we'll let you get on with the rest of your day, but tell us a little about your lovely bride and your three wonderful boys.
Yeah, I met her 23 years ago, I think it was, 24 years ago, something like that. We got married in 98 and hit the road right away through all the ups and downs. Three boys. My son is 12. My oldest is 12. My middle is 8. My youngest is 4.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, it's not just. It's just a encapsulation of a snapshot of my life and where it's at right now. And I think those are the songs that should be written as you grow older. You should speak on your experience.
Your boys enjoying your music? Yeah,
they're funny. They're. I never thought I'd still be doing it this long, so I'm like, wait, that must be weird to talk about your dad as a rapper. Like, that's kind of a weird conversation.
Yeah.
But they do, so it's, it is what it is. But
what are they into? Are they into music too, or sports?
Well, of course, No, of course they're into Fortnite. I mean, at this point, like that's going to be. I think Fortnite's how the robots are going to take over. They're just going to invade through the Xbox. Yeah, my oldest definitely into Fortnite. My middle son is getting into Fortnite, and they're just gamer kids. And then my 4-year-old, he just wants to chase. He has tiny polar bears all around the house that he attacks us with. So.
Good to see. Good to see. Thank you again. God bless you. Keep up the good work. And
thank you.
More to come, Lord willing. We'll see what the next chapters bring. I heard a rumor that you might be shifting. Are you still going to keep going with the music for a while, do you think? Or do you think you may shift into something?
There's no reason to stop.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's usually, honestly, it's more when I get hit with inspiration. So,
yeah.
Coming out of an album, I don't have a lot of vision, you know what I mean? Because the record's only been out for a month. So it's like, at that point, you're like, yeah, I don't know I don't feel like, I'm not feeling it. And as soon as I usually say that, that's generally when I'm like, well, maybe I could write a children's record.
Yes. Thank you. I didn't want to say it, but now you said it. You're doing the first Christmas album just came out last Christmas. First book. You had the documentary a year ago. There's a lot of firsts going on.
Yeah, man.
First KJ52 cookbook.
No, that's not going to happen.
Oh, all right. Well, just an idea. All right, man.
I'm good.
Keep up the good work. We'll catch you again.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. See you, brother. Bye-bye. Dove Award-winning hip-hop artist KJ52 been our guest. New audiobook and CD called What Happened Was. KJ52.com for more info on that. We'll turn things over to Jim Maxim, Acts 4:13 Ministries, the leading prayer in a minute. But first, from the new CD, let's end on a fun note. A song about Chick-fil-A and KJ's love for it. Give me that chicken. Have a good night, everyone.
Dear Lord, bless Chick-fil-A and its perfect deep-fried golden brown chicken. May it always be amazing. Yeah. I'm about to roll it quick. I'm about to get my fix. What's up with these kids? Why they all on my hip? I got the sauce that drip. How much can I get? I'ma put it on my lips. Dang, it's all of my kicks. When I'm walking by, I wanna walk for five. I'm not a Whopper guy. No awkward eye, no awkward guy. I'm just saying hi. What's up? When I run inside, when I get in line, I want a number 5. Give me 2 shakes there and a cow hat. Put it all on the side, I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken. I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken. I want chicken. I'm on Fairfax with my Air Max and my hair back. Yo, I ain't even scared yet. I'ma head right there back. And I'm walking in real fast. What y'all staring at? I'm kicking all the chairs back. Skin, give me that chicken. Where it at? Get a pen and pad. I ain't getting mad. I'm getting in my bag. With a Fender grab, Polynesian sauce on a big old slab. I ain't care the cost. Take it all right there. It's all you have.
Sir, it would be my absolute honor to serve you today.
Bring it out real fast. I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken. I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken. I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken. I want chicken. Give me that chicken. Deep fry that chicken. God bless that chicken.
Thanks for listening to the Tim DeMoss Show podcast. Feel free to tune in to the full show each weekday afternoon from 4 till 5 on AM 560 WFIL and at WFIL.com.